I think one of the things is that cycling can be very serious, especially if you're using the word cycling, because you're either like, there's the sport cycling and there's the advocacy of cycling. And there's this space in the middle that these two groups tend to forget about, the middle space where it's fun to ride bikes. And so our mission through whatever we do, whether it's Bike Party or Gentle Folks or Indy Bike Friends or stuff like that, is like, we want to make sure that people remember that bicycling is supposed to be fun, and keep that sense of exploration on a bicycle, and that idea of the freedom that a bicycle gives you.
Scared rabbit, they've got you boxed in. Old habit, you draw the curtain. Lonely only if they ever leave.
Hey, my name is Michael Zarick, and this is Third Space Indy. In 1989, a man named Ray Oldenburg wrote a book called The Great Good Place. In this book, he coined the term, the third place. This outlines a place that is outside of your home and outside of your work, that you can go be with others, be yourself, and build community. So I've made it my goal to find people all over Indianapolis who are doing their very best to build that type of space right here in our city. So today, I'm sitting with a man named Keith Hutchison, who is doing his very best to do that on two wheels, I think.
That is true.
So,
2 wheels without a motor.
Yeah. So I became aware of Keith Hutchison because of a thing called Bike Party, although I think we're going to talk about a lot of other stuff today as well. But before we get into that, can you just go ahead and tell the people who you are?
I am Keith Hutchison. I grew up in Indianapolis, from here, left for 17 years and came back in 2011. And part of my reason for coming back was to ride my bicycle in Indianapolis because of what was starting to happen here. And my family was still here, and of course, and friends and whatnot. But
Where'd you go for 17 years?
Colorado.
Oh, well, I feel like Colorado has a nice cycling
Depends on where you live, and it depends on, because I lived in a few different places. I spent a majority of my time in a town called Steamboat Springs, which was small and had good connectivity, and because of the smallness of the town and the active lifestyle.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Bike Party. I have unfortunately not been able to attend one yet, and I would really, really love to. It looks like a great time. So for those who might not know what Bike Party is, can you share what Bike Party is in essence?
I mean, the simplest answer is it is a monthly event that happens every second Tuesday where a group of friends get together and show people to ride around on bicycles. We've been doing it since April of 2016. So next month will be our 10th Bike Party year starting.
That's crazy.
Let's see what else. We did take a little bit of break in 2020, of course, for social distancing and whatnot. And then ever since then, it grew exponentially when we came back. In the summer, we get close to 1,000 people on a ride. In the winter, it's much smaller. Maybe it can be anywhere from 20 to 100, depending on how cold it is.
Well, you guys do ride. I make fun of Anna, who's sitting behind the camera, and myself. I call us fair weather riders. You guys are all weather riders.
Yeah, we are. There's a few of them right there.
Yeah, they're coming up.
Yeah, that's a handful of the bike people. It goes on all year round. I can't recall if we've ever canceled. We did cancel. We postponed once for weather before COVID. Since then, we haven't. And then COVID, of course, was kind of like, we'll just not do this and we don't want to.
You don't even mess with it.
We didn't want to be a vector of infection.
I feel like this past January, there was just like 3 to 6 inches of snow on the ground and you guys still ripped it. And I was like, you guys are crazy. And every time I meet a bike person out in the wild, I'm like, you seem like a really cool, but also slightly unhinged person.
That's a fair description. I think most of us are slightly unhinged. I mean, I've always been I've been riding bikes since I learned to ride a bike. I've been riding bicycles. Like, I grew up out in Decatur Township. I was in 4-H, did bicycling with this. We had this crazy shop teacher named Wes Kozad that would take us on rides down to little podunk towns in Morgan County. And then like my brother and I rode our BMXs from basically Southwest Way to downtown one day and back when we were like 10 and 11. You know, it was a different world, and you know, we didn't have our parents were there, but they weren't going to take us where we wanted to go. So it's just like, if you're going to do it, you got to go.
Yeah.
You know, and then growing up at skateboarding adjacent and that kind of thing, it's just, there's a bit of adrenaline pursuit with us, I think.
So you spent 17 years in Colorado, and you said you were called back to Indianapolis because of what was developing here. And I don't think I'm aware of what is developing here. So can you tell me?
Sure. So, and this is part of I don't know exactly. Mayor Greg Ballard, the mayor before Hogsett, was very wanting to get Indianapolis to get back in touch with their bicycling roots. Because back in the 20s, whatever, there were like 100 and some cycling manufacturers here. Our racing history has its roots in bicycling racing. Like the Holmans and all that started their racing careers by putting on bicycle races at various bike tracks around the city. The most famous one of those would be Newby Oval. And it's probably, Ed Fijaba would be better talking about that than I would, and I think he has talked about it. But so we have Indianapolis itself has a strong cycling tradition. And, you know, I would come back from Colorado to visit my brother or whatever, my family, and I would be driving up college and I'd see like half a dozen people riding in a group up college in like 1987 or no, 1997. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then when Ballard comes in, it's like he starts putting bike lanes. He's the impetus behind the cultural trail. The Monon was before that, and the Monon really opened it up for people. And then Ballard really pushed that through. And in a lot of ways, we're living off the impulse of Ballard as far as the infrastructure here in town.
Yeah.
Which has grown exponentially since I've been back in 2011. You know, it's like, you can pretty much get except for the northwest side and the south side, you can pretty much get anywhere in Indianapolis on a bicycle, on a greenway, or a surface side street without having too many problems.
Yeah,
you have to know how to do it, but yeah.
Even like this past week, literally, we rode our bikes here, Anna and I.
Yeah.
And I felt like such a fool learning last week how to get where we are at Highland Park. Because I was like, it's so obvious and so easy. I was like, why haven't I been doing this for like the year and a half I've been here? It seems so silly. And like you saying like you can get anywhere, I do agree, like almost entirely.
Because what you have to too is remember is Indianapolis for the most part is built on a grid.
Mm-hmm. So
you get, especially in the old city limits, which are basically the IPS footprint. So but in the old city limits, it was all grid. For the most part. There's also a network of alleys that when you get a little more adventurous, which is a lot of what we do is that kind of stuff too, outside of putting on Bike Party.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's whole tradition. Ballard starts this thing, and then at the same time you have social events happening. Before, like as far as something more like Bike Party, when I came back, I didn't know anybody really, so I was just putting on social media or like, I guess, Reddit and Facebook, hey, let's go ride bikes. And we'd meet like here or State Fair or White River State Park or Broad Ripple. And I just like start putting it out there, let's go ride bikes kind of thing. And other people were doing that, would run across other groups. And then there was this thing called the full moon ride that was always happened around the full moon. And it was chaotic, like anything on bicycles that's social is chaotic, I think. But like there was no real planning. But it would happen around the full moon. Somebody just post on Facebook, hey, we're going to do this. We meet at City Market. But it was unplanned and it would get chaotic, almost too chaotic at times. And once it folded, a couple of guys had heard about this thing called Bike Party, which started in San Jose, like in the early 90s, San Jose Bike Party. It was if you're familiar with this thing called Critical Mass is this protest ride that started in San Francisco in the late 80s. And basically they get a critical mass of cyclists and take over the streets. The short version of bike party is in San Jose, they want to do a critical mass, but they want to be more polite about it. So their initial intention was to stop the stoplights and it was more of, instead of the protest aspect of critical mass, they want to focus on the party and the fact that being on bikes is fun. And so that's where the bike party movement comes from. These two guys, Matt and Jordan, had heard about this, had been on the full moon ride, didn't like the chaos of the full moon ride, so they decided to start actually planning a monthly ride, and that's how we get to Bike Party Indianapolis's first ride in April of 2016. That's the basic history of how we get there. At the same time, there's this other subculture happening in Indianapolis. It's the dirt bag kind of thing, in a non-pejorative sense. A dirt bag the term from like climbing, where it's somebody who's kind of dedicated their life to climbing, so to speak, or live their life in a way where they can pursue that interest to give them joy. And so when we say dirt bag and dirt hag for the women,
I've never heard that.
that is a Indianapolis creation. I'm not sure which one of my lovely women friends said that, but created it. But it's a great one. But yeah, so the dirt bags and dirt hags. We have this other thing where we explore like the alleys and dirt roads of the city, like railroad service roads and things like that, and alleys and other neighborhoods that maybe don't typically get the attention by bicycles. Yeah.
So you mentioned how Bike Party in San Jose was a planned ride, and Bike Party here in Indianapolis is a planned ride. You're going to do a test ride today. What goes into like determining the route and like making sure it's chill for 1,000 people to show up?
So, sorry, we're non-hierarchical. So we have one person that picks has a calendar, and people will volunteer to lead the ride. From there, we just kind of have sort of a schedule of we have it all in place, like we call it the lore. So, we have a set schedule of like, this is when the testing happens, we need a route by then, we need blah, blah, blah. There is just this kind of standardized, but it's super flexible. And then outside of that, the leader just the person for the month kind of just does it how they want. And then the test rides are there for, we have two types of test rides. We have private ones where we kind of just, the group of people, comment. We'll do a ride comment. You'll see us out and about doing that. And then we'll have a public test ride for anyone that wants to come after we know that the route is pretty good. And that's both to get people who are going to come to Bike Party to know the route so they can jump in and help, or just know the route so they can put it in their phones, or just come and hang out. It's also like we're always looking for volunteers, and it's a good time for people to come and help out, because we need people to watch intersections. If they know the route, if we get separated, they can pick up, because we're non-hierarchical, and it's very self-organizing in a lot of ways. Like I haven't led an actual Bike Party ride in probably 3 years at this point, and I'll ride through the pack, and it's just...
They're like, he definitely has it.
But I've told them what to do a few times. They're like, not what to do, but I'm like, I think that we need to do this, or this intersection is no good. Like, it's just, there's a handful of us that have been doing it from the beginning, and then a lot of newer people. And then it's all collaborative and consensus-based. Like, our big decisions are all consensus-based. We have this saying that we say that is, Bike Party will never charge you money or send an email. So we're very big on we should have no money, and nobody coming to Bike Party should have to pay for it at all.
Yeah.
And that's actually when you ask that question later, that's a component of the space idea, is we want this space to be available for anyone that wants to come. Because it is it's a rolling space, but it's a space no matter what. And I think that, if people who go to the bar for their third space, they're spending money at the bar. We want people to come here and, maybe they have $5 in their account for the next week, but they can still come to Bike Party and have a good time and not have to worry about that aspect of what's going on behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's anyone's open to come. We've had, you know, in the summer it's just like I said, there's almost 1,000 people, and it's like all people from all walks of life. We'll have, I mean, some summer, I remember one summer we had this little kid. He couldn't have been much more than like 7 or 8, just riding up front the whole time with everybody. You know, it's just like, it's an amazing view of all these people just coming together and having this good time. And then there's like all these little subgroups too that come and join to make the big it's like Voltron. All these little pieces make a big Voltron bike party.
Well, that's kind of funny that you say that. So you mentioned that there's a bunch of other like little biking organizations. I have a bunch of random like biking, cycling groups who follow me on Instagram. Would you say that Bike Party is sort of like the Comic-Con of the local bike scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We used to, like years back, we used to kind of call it the gathering of the bike tribes kind of thing. You know, that sort of thing. Like it just, because there's a bunch of little subgroups. Like there's a group that meets here, and they do all kinds of different things. Like there's like as far as social groups, there's these Naptown Party Riders. They're kind of like a bike party, and they're very heavy on the party part. And then there's We Just Ride. They're like kind of like single speed, like adult BMXs, but whatever. They have a couple guys that ride recumbents and trikes, and they're just chill, like let's go out and hang out and ride, and party, but ride. And then you have groups like, I do another thing called Gentlefolks. That has a long, like Wes Anderson style name, like Gentlefolks Bicycle Riding Exploration Society of Indianapolis, but it's just called Gentlefolks. And we do like the more gravel, dirt, like off-road type stuff. But it's, you know, we get a lot of people that show up for the first time, like, oh wow, you can do this on a bike, you know, you can. And again, we don't charge for any of that stuff. You know, it's always like, everything, like all our stickers and everything are volunteer done. All our art is volunteer for Bike Party or any of the other groups that have logos. It's all done. It's like, you know, you kind of can draw a comparison to the zine culture back in the 90s and early 2000s in that respect. You know, it's all DIY here on the part of everyone. You know, that aspect has been important. I think that tradition, because I mean, I don't know.
So I lived in Moab, Utah for 6 months.
Okay, cool.
Doing construction, and they would do a monthly bike party there, and there was a lot of PBR consumed.
Yes, yeah,
it's like good cheap beer basically. And I just recall that what I loved about Moab is sort of this concept that you're talking about, which is like, we don't really care who you are, and this is true of all parts of Moab, which was like most of the people who lived in Moab were working class people who worked in the tourism industry, because that's what Moab is. It's just like a tourist town. So it's like, oh, you're a river rafting instructor, but in the afternoon you just want to float down the river without an annoying tourist with you. So that's Bike Party in Moab was like the culmination of that, whereas like this is like the towny thing. Yeah. That is like, they just go hang out, drink a couple beers, and like have a good time and hang out riding their bikes down the street.
Man, yeah. Well, Steamboat Springs is a tourist town also. We didn't have a bike party there. We should have had a bike party. Dang.
Missed opportunity.
Next time I go back in time.
Hot tub time machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, it like that concept is totally, yeah. But it's, yeah. And it was the same kind of thing, like that idea of like a lot of us, you know, that's where the dirtbag idea. And well, if you lived in Moab, you already knew what a dirtbag was too.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's the same. Like those mountain bikers in Moab were basically what we're talking about when we talk about, like, they work in the shop all day and then they go out and hit some mountain bike trails in the evening. You know,
I mean, it's the same thing for us. Like, we worked for a nonprofit construction company, and like basically everyone would like work all day out in the hot sun and then like go into Arches or something, like would go on a hike or whatever, just like do something. Yeah. Because it's like, that's just what you do out there. Yeah. It's not like super urban. It's like the thing to do. Yeah. That's why you live there.
Well, like even here, you know, we have a lot. I mean, say what you will about any parks, we have a lot of great parks here. Like Highland Park is like one of my favorite parks in the city, just because the sunset view from here is spectacular. And like I was telling you before we talked, you know, it is kind of a center of social cycling in Indiana.
Yeah, why is that?
We've always just come here, you know, like bike parties. Our first bike party, and I wasn't on it, but the first bike party in 2016 started here. I think part of it is because it's a central location for people that live either downtown on the Near East Side. It's pretty close to Fountain Square too, but it has this view of downtown that's just spectacular.
Yeah.
And then it has our sticker pole back there that has any little cycling club or other club in the town has their stickers on that pole back there.
That's actually like kind of why I asked you, because you were like, oh, I live somewhere on the east side. And I was like, well, we live in Broad Ripple, so I won't strain you too much. come. I was like, the Highland Park, and it's going to be like a semi-nice day, so we'll come hang out.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, this is like the spot.
It is.
It's kind of funny.
There's another place that called Beer Castle, which is
I don't think I know that one.
You may have seen it. It's possibly going to get torn down this year, but it's just south of 16th Street on the river. There's that dam, it's Emmericksville Dam. The remainder of Emmericksville Dam, but they had two like turret towers on the side of it when they first built it. Well, on the east bank, the turret is still there, and everyone in the area calls it Castle, and then the cycling. We called it Beer Castle, and it's just called Beer Castle. But it looks kind of like a castle.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's been all kinds of tomfoolery happen there over the years.
So Anna and I moved from Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, which is near Bentonville, also becoming sort of a bicycling place.
Yeah.
And one thing that we noticed when moving from Northwest Arkansas to here is that the sort of etiquette around cycling is very different. I would call it worse.
Yeah.
And I mean that from like top down, whether that's the friendliness of people driving cars, but also people interpersonally like communicating on their bikes. Do you have any opinion about like cycling culture here in Indianapolis and how it's developed over time?
I mean, I think it's definitely grown and got a lot more positive over the years as far as, hey, Tommy.
Awesome people there. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing an interview.
Oh, shit.
You're okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Looks like a nice interview.
Yeah. Speaking of bike people.
That's why we're in public.
Yeah.
Get seen.
I mean, I guess there's an example of what you were just asking me. Is like, that's kind of the culture. Is like people just ride up and say, hey.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, as far as etiquette, trail etiquette is just like on your left, kind of thing. I mean, although I used to do it and now, or ring a bell, but so many people are like, if they have their earbuds in, I'm not going to.
That is definitely something I noticed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but there's times when it's just like, I'll indicate as much as possible that I'm behind you and going to pass you or let you know what's happening. But on your left, everyone jumps. I'm like, I'm just telling you, I'm on your left. Like it's so some of us try, some of us don't. Like I also like if I'm going up to Broad Ripple, a lot of times I will stay off the Monon until I get to a certain point. But that's just because I'm like screwing around the alley or something, or I know of a dirt trail that I want to check out.
Yeah.
Or like, there's a series of potential stops that you're always wanting to check out, whether it's for bike party or something else, or like, it's just this idea of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
The city has so many cool little hidden things that are visible on a bicycle, or something that's maybe wasn't built for a bike but is perfect for a bike, or like just like these tiny little, like the carriage houses that you'll ride by if you're going through an alley, or things like interesting architecture. It's just like, there's this whole idea of like you can tell what a city is like really by going through its alleys.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
There's like the idea of like you are forming a deeper understanding of the city, or like seeing something that someone in a car wouldn't even notice.
I think that's a big key, is like you see the world like when you're in a car, you're behind the glass, you're behind your steel cage, and when you turn to look, that A-beam is blocking your view. But when you're on your bicycle, you get this whole panoramic view of what's going on. And you also, on the side of that is you have to have your situational awareness heightened up. So not having these A-frames blocking your view and being open to be able to hear and see and know what's going, like, it keeps you very in the moment, like very present. I find for bicycling, it's like it can be meditation, and it can also, you're meditating at the same time you're defending your life at times.
The thing that I have really appreciated, I'm trying to get more into cycling here in Indianapolis. I think I was a little hesitant at the beginning because it felt unsafe. And I think to an extent it might be. But I think if you're aware, as you say, and you're present and you're paying attention, you can be safe. But the thing that I really have appreciated since getting more actively doing it, outside of, especially now that's warming up, is this idea of like free flow life where it's like, oh, if I ride downtown and now I'm just downtown and I see, it's like the blimp's flying over.
There's a blimp.
And then I see someone I know and you say hello, like you did with, what's the guy's name?
Tommy.
Like Tommy that just rode by just to say hi. And it's like, oh, Tommy's like, oh, I'm going to Natural State Provisions. Do you want to come hang out with me? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm already here. Versus like, this is a big issue I have with cars, which is just like you go from point A to point B and then point B to point A.
Yep.
And there and back. There's no opportunity for improvisation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No.
get the same sort of thing happening regularly.
Yeah. No. It's there's definitely like an yes and element to riding bikes in Indianapolis. I think. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, yeah, like you just said, it's like, I mean, that's one of the reasons Highland Park is what it is, because people will stop in Highland Park and suddenly there's Jake, you know, and Jake and I are like, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to go do this? And it's like, sure, let's go do this. And then, or like, you know, I spent years I lived in, at 46 in Keystone for a few years and would commute up and down the Monon to go to work.
Yeah.
And you just meet people that way. And then you become friends with these people you're going back and forth to work with. Well, you're not going to have that experience commuting to work in a car. You might on the bus if you're one of those, you know, if you're a stranger, just a friend you haven't met yet type of person. But yeah, on a bicycle, there's this like, there is this, like when my experience of that was, there was this Monon commuter community, you know, of like, you'd see the same faces, especially, you know, or you'd end up riding home with someone and you get to know them. It's like, I think quite a few of the early people I met in the city on bicycles were from just commuting back and forth on the Monon. And then after a while, if you do that daily, and this is part of the exploration part, you know, you get kind of bored with the same thing over and over. Of when they opened Fall Creek Trail up between, from the Monon to Capitol, there was a bike lane in Capitol at the time, and it was, you know, it gave you a change of pace. You could go down that way, or something, you know, but you can, especially going home, you can always like, oh, on a nice day, if you don't have any responsibilities, you can take a 5-mile commute and turn it into 15, you know, and maybe you'll run into, you know, whoever and have them as part of that experience, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you see developing in Indianapolis in terms of like bicycle culture or infrastructure that you really enjoy, or something you'd like to see more?
I think one of the things I'm noticing is we're getting a lot of like smaller groups that are more like women centered. And I, you know, coming from a white male, that's more, but like, I think cycling has a bit of a mostly white male dominance, even in the social scene. And there's these groups, like two of my dearest friends run this little thing called Indie Bike Friends. They're on Instagram. It's women that ride together. There's another group called GOB. I think is GOB Girls on Bikes? Girls on Bikes.
Confirmed.
Yeah. I don't know much about them. I think they're more road oriented. And then there's a Indie Divas, which has been around for quite a while. And I think they do a lot of multifaceted. I don't know much about them either, but I know some of the women that help out with Bike Party are involved with Divas, and they've been around. I think they've been around for a while, and I think they're pretty big. Like, but the Indy Bike Friends is pretty. Since I'm really close friends with them, they do a lot of fun stuff, and then you have other groups like like I mentioned, We Just Ride, but I think there's this. We want to make sure that there's space for everybody here, and I think that's something we're seeing more and more of. It's still a work in progress, but there's also there's people. I just ran across this on Facebook today. I was screwing around, and I was like Riverside Bike Club, and it looks like it's in Wild Styles neighborhood. It looks like there's a social bike club in that area of that community, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So it's just these little neighborhood groups just to get. There's nothing better than getting together with your friends and riding around town on a bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's and that goes across every level of people. I think.
Last weekend we rode from Broad Ripple to Garfield Park, doing it was effectively a test ride, but for a walk. And we had a great time. We rode all the way down, and then on the way back up, we were like, oh, let's stop at Upland, get some beer, and then and got food as well because we were dying. And then rode all the way back, and it was a wonderful day. And then I had to play Dungeons and Dragons, but then they went to a bar afterwards too. So
we had this idea years ago of trying to do a Dungeons and Dragon ride,
playing. On bike.
Yeah. There's been the idea of bicycle jousting with pool noodles.
I've seen
I think that has happened. I don't know about here. When I lived in Colorado Springs, they had these adult men would build these bikes called pixie bikes. And they were the little 16-inch kid bikes, but with giant seat posts, and then they'd race them downhill, and that was just insane.
Yeah.
But I forget where I was going.
No, just fun. Random.
Yeah, it's just because I think one of the things is, there in cycling can be very serious, especially if you're using the word cycling, because you're either there's the sport cycling and there's the advocacy of cycling, and there's this space in the middle. That is, these two groups tend to forget about the middle space where it's fun to ride bikes. And so our mission through whatever we do, whether it's Bike Party or Gentle Folks or Indy Bike Friends or stuff like that, is we want to make sure that people remember that bicycling is supposed to be fun, and keep that sense of exploration on a bicycle, and that idea of the freedom that a bicycle gives you.
Yeah.
Because, it is the most perfect, simple machine as far as getting around your environment.
Mm-hmm.
The fuel is food. Your fuel for your bicycle is what you consume as far as food and the water you need to hydrate. There's not much more simpler other than walking, So I think that's always been part of it too. I think it is once you get the bike, your barrier of entry is gone. Once you have a bike. Now, once you get a bike, you also start wanting to get more bikes, depending on how serious you get into it, or a different bike, or there's that aspect. But
I've met multiple Bike Party people who are I was like, oh, is this the only bike you own? They go, no, I own 5.
Yeah.
It's
there's this whole idea of N+1. I only have 2 functioning bikes. I mostly ride the one I came in on today, but I have, that's my commuter, my shop, my grocery getter. I don't drive in my personal life. Most of my stuff has to be done by bicycle or borrow my friend's car.
And I love that you are a bicycle commuter, because I think we had this concept of cycling as an alternate form of transport, alternate from cars, but it's just a form of transport that you just can pick.
Yeah, because there's a saying in the cycling, and it's more on the advocacy side, but that we are traffic. This idea that yes, bicycles are traffic.
Except they don't make traffic.
Yeah, we don't make traffic. And then, but that's the thing too, is you have the lovingly called cagers.
Cagers is awesome.
That's from the motorcycle world. But but they always are oh, traffic is terrible. It's but you were traffic. If you're sitting in your car in traffic, you are the traffic.
Well, then there's the idea that they go, how come this bike lane is there? I never see it full of bikes. It's favorite. They all just go. Yeah. There's no bike traffic. You just you disappear.
This is the United States. We don't have bike traffic.
Is Amsterdam ever?
Yes, yeah, I got lost on a bicycle in Amsterdam 20 years ago.
But there's no standstill bicycle traffic. You know?
No.
You're not ever like sitting.
I dream of the day that Indianapolis has a bicycle traffic jam. That would be hilarious. I don't see that in my lifetime.
We'll work towards it. We're going to move on to what I call the canned questions.
Aha.
Aha. Hey, Third Space Indy is sponsored by City Rising. City Rising is a social impact studio that it leads and supports innovative projects that strengthen, celebrate, and repair people and places. City Rising has sponsored a question, which is, what is a third space to you?
Well, to me, a third space is, the classic definition, but I like to add the component we talked about earlier about a low barrier to entry. I think that it is important for people to gather where they are not, I think it's important for a third space to be somewhere where people can gather and not worry about what's in their personal life so much, like the struggles, I think, because if I understand the definition of third space, it would include churches and bars too. And I think there's that idea of communion, but I think we should all be able to take that in if we can. So I think it's important that third space is also somewhere where they're not worried about not just if they can go, but how they can go.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure, I think third space is, I think the meeting room at the library, I think a coffee, I came up in a time hanging out in coffee shops. I know you hang out in coffee shops too.
I do.
But I think coffee shops are a great example of a fairly affordable third space. Bike party is a free third space. And I think, so the original definition is third place, right?
Yeah, third place is the.
But we always talk
word.
about space,
Mhm.
and I think that it expands it a lot.
Well, I've said this a bunch of times, but the reason I use the word space is because it's sort of like amorphous. So, for example, bike party, you actually used this term in your description of it, which is a rolling space.
Yeah.
Something that is moving through the world.
Yeah.
It's not a singular place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because it's I go back to this. There's this idea. This guy Hakim Bey had this idea of a temporary autonomous zone, which is this area where people just come together and build this place that the outside authorities don't really have much to do with. I think a good example of that would be kind of Burning Man or some raves and things like that. This place where the people go out and can for lack of a better phrase, let their freak flag fly. And I think bike party is that space for people to do. Because if you haven't been to one yet, have you?
No.
You got to come in the summer because it's
I plan to.
There's people that we've had people who fire twirlers and stuff show up in the summers and stuff.
On their bike?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're throwing twirl. They might twirl, but it's probably not fire.
Are you familiar with vaulting on a horse? Is that the word?
Or where they have somebody doing gymnastics on
Yeah.
the back of a horse.
Someone
Wow.
rides a horse and the horse is moving or standing still and they're doing actual tricks and gymnastics, or maybe they're twirling fire. I don't know. I've seen, I think probably clips. I didn't of a world where someone's doing that on a bike. I didn't know if that was the reality you were living in.
I haven't. I don't think I've seen that, but who's to say it hasn't? Because there's a big crowd. You don't know everything that's going on. I will say it's probably going to be tough for someone to do that in the middle of bike party because we are fairly. It doesn't
Dense.
move very fast.
Okay, yeah.
It's especially when it gets big. It goes fast in the summer because we're cold, or in the winter because we're cold, and we want to get to the
end spot.
Typically, there's a fire at the end too, so we want to get there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But in the winter, or in the summer, it's not going any faster than 8 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. How long is the average bike party? Distance.
Distance. We try in the summers. We try to keep it no more than 12 miles. In the winter, maybe we can push it towards 15. In the summer, sometimes we'll keep them as small as 8. The longest one in the summer is usually August because we have an ongoing ride that we do with the velodrome, the Major Taylor Velodrome. They put on an exhibition night for us in August, and then we just go up there and they have their, it's great for them to raise a bunch of money in one night through the concession stand. And then, so they put on exhibition races for us, and then, but for the last few years, 30th Street's been closed for the last 3 years. So just getting up there is probably, and back is probably close to 15 miles. 30th Street's open this year, so we're so happy.
Do you guys always start in the same spot?
No.
Oh, okay.
We used to. When we started, we always started over at City Market. And then they closed it for remodeling, so we moved around. They opened it back up again, so we went back there, but didn't always go back there because we were like, because when we first started, we always started at City Market, and there was no real, and that was like, it was known, second Friday of every month, City Market at 7 p.m. It was always known that that's where it was, that's where we were going to start. And then when they closed it, I can't remember if we had I know we started at Lily a few times when we came back from COVID. And then we just kind of started moving it around based on where the person coming up with the route for the month wanted to start from. But we try to start in downtown, and if we end outside of downtown, we try to be within a block or two of a greenway, so people can get themselves either back to their car downtown eventually, because everything connects to the Monon. So
yeah,
that
makes sense.
Yeah. So as long as we can get you to the Monon and you can get back to your car if you drove, or if you're in Broad Ripple, go home to Broad Ripple or Fountain. I mean, if you're on a bike in Indianapolis and you're riding around, you probably know how to get. We assume you know how to get home.
We hope.
Yeah, it is a no drop ride. People peel off all the time. We're not going to try to tell you, oh, you have to. There's not a lot of rules.
Yeah.
To bike party other than don't ride into oncoming traffic. If we tell you to stick it to one lane, please
be
stick
safe.
to the one lane.
All those things, all the safety rules.
Yeah.
So follow-up question to the previous question.
Mm-hmm.
What is a third place or space that has existed for you previously that no longer does?
The place would be, there's a physical place that was Pan Am Plaza, which was a cool spot.
That's over here?
It was downtown.
Over here meaning Indianapolis.
Yeah, it was
an amorphous over here.
Yeah, it was over here. It was over at kind of near Union Station. It's now the site of a hotel that's being built. But we would end bike party there, and it was another one of those places that if you were on a bike and you were riding around downtown, you'd head over to Pan Am Plaza to kind of see who was around there. And it was also a skateboarding place. So there's a lot of kids that would come over the years that would go and skate there. I think there was a skater from Indianapolis. I always blank on his name. I think his name was Jeff Kendall. That he was in a skate video, and he has a few places downtown, but some of that was at Pan Am Plaza, if I remember right. My brother would correct me. He's the skate guru for the city.
Yeah. Any places in Colorado that were particularly stand out?
Yeah, Colorado was so much outdoorsy. It was it was it's been so long. I'm trying to think. When I lived in Steamboat Springs, it was more bars. For me, there was a lot of youthful activities, so it was a lot of bar type stuff. I did hang out when I lived in Colorado Springs for my last stint in Colorado. Was in Colorado Springs, and there was some parks and stuff that were cool. And I did eventually. That's when I first discovered the social side of bicycling more so. Is they had a weekly Thursday night pub crawl that I started going to, and that's I saw that in Colorado Springs and saw what was happening here. And I was like, oh, but yeah. It's mostly that kind of thing. Or, I don't go to concerts anymore. I think there was kind of that, punk. I used to go to I came up through the punk rock and hardcore scene and go to shows like that.
I feel like that checks out.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of the people that are involved in this kind of thing came up in that kind of DIY punk rock hardcore scene or whatever came after that, like post hardcore. Like I would go to a lot of shows like that, and I was never a great skateboarder, but in Colorado, I would go to the skate parks there because they had like bowls, and there is that sense of community, especially if you go there at the right time. It's just a bunch of like, I was in my 30s, you know, just a bunch of 30-year-old people hanging around, egging each other on at the skate park, or cheering each other on, not egging, but like cheering each other on.
Definitely.
But you know, those spaces. Like I am into this idea. I've always been kind of someone like, it doesn't have to be a permanent space. It could just be a one-time deal kind of thing. You know, like I feel like spaces and events can kind of be the same thing at times. And as an event or a happening, I guess is the word they used to use.
Yeah.
Like a happening can be a space. I think Bike Party has a happening aspect to it too, you know?
So like, no, we always talk about this idea of like third spaces evolving over time. Like maybe Bike Party 10 years from now is different than Bike Party 10 years ago. And how does it change over that time? And that's okay that it changes.
Yeah.
As long as you're still being true to whatever you want to be true to.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, I think Bike Party definitely has evolved. I mean, when we first started, we stopped at every red light, you know? We can't do that. Just by the size of it now, we can't do it.
Yeah,
you know,
it becomes restrictive.
Well, and it becomes a hazard for everyone using the roads. Mm-hmm. You know, but I know IMP may not be the biggest fan of us doing it, but we will block the intersections and get most of the group through or parts of the group through. We're working on trying to fine tune that to be less impactful on the auto traffic. You know, it is one night a month though where bicycles and I think, I don't want to put my mouth somewhere I shouldn't, but I feel like the city has mostly turned a blind eye to what we do. As far as like, they know it's one night, they know that we're not out there causing trouble. We're just out here having fun on bicycles. And I'm pretty sure there's some of those officers see us and then come to a bike party.
Yeah, later. I've heard of a couple.
Yeah,
I don't know any names.
I don't know. I don't particularly care what you do as long for work if you come to a bike party. You know.
There's also, I would also phrase it also that every other day of the month that cars are inhibiting your movement as well.
Yeah.
Let me reframe it.
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, it goes back to what we're talking about is we're all traffic. But yeah, and the roads, you know, I think you mentioned it earlier, like it does feel about how when you first got here, it kind of felt unsafe riding in the city. That is the reality. It can be unsafe, but you have to, you know, once you get more experienced, you can choose how dangerous it's going to be to some extent for you. Like you can, you know, if you're sticking to the greenways, you're pretty safe.
Yeah,
you know, the only conflict you're going to come into is at an intersection, and those can be challenging sometimes. That 46th Street in the Monon gets tricky, you know, because
46. I would say 16th is really bad.
Yeah. 16th is 16th.
10th is fine. 10th has good crossing. There's just a couple of spots where you're like, I don't. Yeah. People do not stop here.
I think Fall Creek and College, the Fall Creek Trail in College gets a little dicey at rush hour sometimes, but outside of rush hour, it's not bad. And that's the thing too, is it's really not that, it's only peak hours that you're really running into conflict. You know, Indianapolis was nickname is Nap Town, not because it's sleepy, but there is that aspect to it. Like, I'm pretty sure the nap in Naptown had a different meaning, but I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure Wild Style has posted about it on Threads, and I can't remember what he said.
So every episode, I ask a question from the previous guest. Yesterday's episode was last week's episode, when I released this, was with a woman. Her name is Albany Heart or Albany Essence. And she asks, what are some aspects of a world you want to live in?
Wow. That could be a whole show.
I got nowhere to be.
I mean, I would like us to be more kind. I think that would be, or at least, I think a lot of us are kind. I would like that kindness to be more centered in the world that we live. You know, I think that we all have that capacity. I hope we all have that capacity, and I think that just, you know, that would be a big one. I think, you know, I think this idea of, it can be anything, right? What's it? What we want to see in the world around us, like.
She said, elements of a world you want to live in. I think kindness is an element.
Yeah, I think that. I think kind of like, you know, I don't necessarily, I think getting away from like this, I don't want to sound like an advocate, but I think a world I would want to live in would be less car-centered, less automobile-centered.
You're allowed to say that.
I think that a combination of getting people out of their cars, not only just for the environment's sake, you know, whatever, but just for our own physical and mental health. Getting us out of our boxes and into the world is, we're not meant to be in these little boxes, I don't think, you know, and I think that getting back to that aspect of nature, for lack of a better word, I think there's a better word, but, you know, I think that I would like to see a less car-centric world. And we built this world to be car-centric, you know. Well, this world was built to be car-centric by the people that came before us, who may have not realized how dreadful the impact actually was going to be. I would like to think that they thought that I would like to think that their hearts were in the right place when they built the world the way it is now, at least in this part of the world, at least in the United States. And you drop down to Indiana and you drop down to the Indianapolis metro area. You know, we've got this, and you can kind of see it the way it was built before World War II here in the center city, sidewalks, grid. We had the trolley system back then. We had the interurban between towns. Like, going back to that kind of world, that's the world I would want to live in. I would also, I mean, if it's a buffet, shoot, I'd kind of like to see us get away from social media some too, like that.
You can keep listing them. I don't know.
Like, this is, I think that the irony is this is going into a screen, but we're so invested in our screens sometimes.
Well, I would say that, I'm glad you said that. So there's like, I would call Instagram and like the vehicle in which I share these conversations, but these conversations are also inherently subversive in that way, where it's like, I'm still sitting down to have a conversation with someone over the course of an hour, which is not entirely common.
Right.
You know, people aren't just like randomly, reaching out to random people like, hey, do you want to sit down for an hour and just like talk about you? So it's just sort of a vehicle for sharing that conversation. You know, it's not ideal. Maybe in the ideal world, we had 50 people show up today and they could join together. But in a way, it's sort of a way to share that you can still do this to hopefully reach the world where you're able to get off social media.
Yeah, I think, I don't necessarily, I think, I mean, I was on Friendster when Friendster came up. You know, I was on. I'm a product of MySpace. You know, I was there, and
well, you were a punk rock kid, so you definitely were on MySpace.
Yeah, and I mean, I was one of those Gen X people that was on MySpace. Like, we were, you know, I have one foot firmly in an analog world and one foot firmly in a digital world. You know, like I have straddled. Being born by virtue of being born when I was, I'm one of those people that has straddled those two worlds, and I see. Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, the internet was like this promising, it's going to change the world for the better. And now in 2020, whatever, I'm like, we were kind of wrong. But I still think it, like,
I think on average it has. It's hard to we fixate on negative stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that, I mean, the sum of human knowledge is contained on the internet. I mean, between Wikipedia and archive.org, You know, I mean, this is a tangent, but you know, it's just, you know, when I was a kid, I would have to go to the library and look at World Book or Encyclopedia Britannica, and that's all on this now. And that, to me, that is freaking amazing. Like, so I will backtrack a little, but I still think the social media, the algorithms, the way they put what I think the idea of engagement, what traffics and what pushes engagement is dangerous, I think, or the way the algorithms push the rage. That's the part I'm talking about. Like, that is what I would like to see us get away from. And I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on social media anymore because I find myself I'm on Reddit. It's not, and
I browse the Indianapolis subreddit sometimes just because I like to see what people are thinking about.
I was a mod on that for a while.
And I'm never impressed. That's sort of the short of it.
Reddit is Reddit. And again, it's another one of those things. It's like that whole Cory Doctorow and shitification idea. Like, Reddit has definitely gotten shitified since in the last 10 years. But there's still moments of like awesomeness on it. You know, like I saw something that I can't remember what it was, but I saw something today that just like, oh, this is like truly heartwarming. You know, and that's why I still engage with social media, because it's like, I want to see pictures of chihuahuas. I want to see pictures, you know, I want to show you, I want to see that picture of your dog in a outfit, you know, that's what the internet was built for.
Yeah.
To me.
I mean, for sure. I think there's a clear like distinction between like internet of like 2007 to 2012-ish.
Yeah.
And then post that, because I think and I actually really like TikTok because of this, because I think TikTok emulates a lot of that early internet. Because I think YouTube especially has fallen into this sort of like highly manicured content format.
Yeah.
Versus like TikTok is a little, it's getting to the age where it's now moving away from that. But like Vine, early TikTok, this like very rough and tumble, like, yeah, I'm just doing this because I think it's kind of fun type thing.
That's how, like, the early years of Instagram, it was like that too. And a lot of those early, what was it? We lost so much when Flash was gone. Like,
you really are an early internet guy.
Yeah, I was that kid that like walked up and down the roads to get cans to save to buy a computer.
That's
kind
awesome.
of kid. You know, that was yeah, but the internet, I spent a lot of time on the internet.
That's chill.
It was too much.
Who does it in the year 2026?
Yeah, I knew what was coming, and I was like, I wanted all that information. I wanted to see, and that was like, you know, a kid stuck in Indiana, pouring through encyclopedias, and then this thing pops up that connects you with people around the world. Is just freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, at the time, like, and now we take it for granted. It's like, oh, I can talk to this dude in Europe through WhatsApp or whatever. Is it WhatsApp? Yeah, WhatsApp, you know? So it's like, it's just amazing how interconnected, like, we are so more interconnected now than we were in 1996. You know, it's amazing. That aspect of it is just completely amazing. Definitely. And we've used it, kind of to circle a little bit back, you know, to get the word out about what it is that we do with the bicycle stuff. Like Bike Party, you know, we used Facebook only for years and moved into Instagram, and we still, like, with the Gentlefolk stuff, that's how we communicate with people for the most part, is, hey, we've got something happening, come to this. And a lot of people use it that way. It'd be nice to find a platform that's maybe not whatever, but that's what we have to use right now. But it is a tool, and a useful tool.
Yeah. I go to Creative Mornings on, I think is it the last Friday of the month? Whatever Friday of the month. And they always, at the beginning, they're like, share about Creative Mornings on whatever billionaire-owned platform you prefer. It's like, and I always think that's funny. Keith, is there anything else you want to talk about today?
Was there anything else?
It's okay if not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I mean, I could, if you gave me I could prod me and I'm sure I could, I'm a talker. I'm one of those weird guys that I will go home and say nothing for hours. And then you wind me up and there we go. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I would love to see more people on bikes. I think Indianapolis is actually a bicycle city. We're not quite like Portland or Minneapolis yet, but we're on our way. As far as if you know anything about cycling in the United States, like those are the cities that people will talk about that have strong bicycle cultures. And I think that Indianapolis has a very strong and vibrant and growing bicycle culture that I just want to see keep growing, you know, and I'm glad to have had what part I've had in helping grow it. And it, you know, because I don't know if Cliff did this to you, but
Cliff does a lot of things to me.
But Cliff goes around telling people I like founded Bike Party.
He does. That's part of the reason I reached out.
And he does that because he knows it irritates me. I want to go on the record that I did not found Bike Party. It was these two gentlemen named Matt Martin and Jordan Kingdon. Jordan hasn't been involved in years. There's a few of us that have been there since the beginning, but it's always like a constantly rotating crew. Like we've sent people to other cities and people have been involved with Bike Party, moved out to say Denver and gotten involved with like one of the women that helped us, Erin, went out to Denver and got super involved in this group called Fims and Thems, which is a bicycle club for,
Fims and Thems.
Yeah. And you know, that's kind of going back to like with Indie Bike Friends is kind of that same theme. You know, it's like female women, people, riding bikes together, you know, and I think it's a good thing. I think we need that those spaces. Like, I think there's space for everyone in the bicycle scene. Like, I think the bicycle culture is open and big, and we're here for whatever you want to do. And it's also very DIY. If you want to do something in the bike culture with a bicycle, go out and do it and tell people about it. And you'll have people that will show up and do it. You know, it may just be one or two, but they'll show up and do it again. And maybe two more people. If it's something you want to do, it's open for anybody. It's open.
Yeah. I think we get hung up on having a lot of people show up, but one or two is all you need to build a community.
Man, the first rides I ever put on, like 3 people showed up and we still had a blast, you know, like 3 or 4, and it grew from there, you know. And same with Bike Party, you know, the first year we had 50 people every summer, and now we have this summer will probably be over 1,000, you know. It's insane. You know, there's that trope of if you build it, they will come, but it's true. It is. I didn't, you know, this has been being a part of this has been probably other than like, you know, I have a couple of adult stepsons and have been with them since they were young. But outside of that kind of thing, this has probably been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done, is helping be part of and create this and help shift and grow this bicycle culture in this city is just, it's great. And I think I don't want to get in let the advocates be the advocates, but it is important. It is important for everyone's mental health and their physical health for us to get out here on bicycles, or whatever it is. But I'm on a bike, so I'm just to say it's on bicycles.
Cool. One last question. What question would you like to ask?
I knew you were going to ask
the
that.
next Third Space Indy guest.
Well, you know what? Since I am kind of outdoorsy, what is your favorite outdoor space, whether it's Third or otherwise, but outdoor in this area?
This area, just anywhere?
Like
Yeah.
in let's say Marion County.
Sure.
You know, has that been asked before?
Kinda.
Oh,
That's you're allowed to repeat. I got no rules.
okay. Yeah, sure, why not?
I think people also like, it doesn't matter if you ask the same question because you're asking a different person.
Yeah, exactly.
And different people have different opinions.
Yeah, I think I like to hear that.
Until they all say the Monon, and that happens. But whatever.
Oh, okay. Addendum. You can't say the Monon.
We'll throw it in.
But-
Well, thanks for coming on, Keith. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you sitting down. technically our first live episode. We had a couple of people sitting and watching for a bit. Where, if you want to be found, can the people find you?
I'm more of a lurker, but I do have a private Instagram account. But if I see that you follow people I know, I'll approve it. It's lost_Midwest. I'm also lost_Midwest on Threads and Blue Sky. I think I'm on Blue Sky. I don't do Twitter, and I am on Facebook as Keith Hutchison, but I'm not. I don't really frequent Facebook much. I am a lurker though. If you contact me, I'll see it.
You were very responsive, more responsive than the average person.
Oh, well, you texted me. I
did text you. That's kind of cheating.
I'm not giving people my phone number.
If I were interested in coming to Bike Party, how would I figure that out?
It is on Facebook as Bike Party Indy, and Instagram also. Instagram is Bike Party Indy also.
I actually don't remember.
I'm going to double check.
It'll be in the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes, but it's either Bike Party Indy or Bike Party Indianapolis. I think we had a website, but I don't know what it is.
I didn't know there's a website.
It redirects to the Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to, because yeah, but if you just search Bike Party, I did it today, Bike Party, one word, Indianapolis or Indy, just throw it into your search engine and you'll find it. I know we're on Facebook.
We live in the internet age.
Yeah.
And you'll find your way.
Or, come to Highland Park. You'll probably find one of us.
Hey, thanks for watching or listening to this episode of Third Space Indy. You can find me at Third Space Indy on Instagram or by going to thirdspaceindy.com. Thank you, as always, to Mark Latta of cityrising.org for sponsoring the podcast. And thank you, as always, to the local artist Jennison for allowing me to use your song, Scared Rabbit. And shout out to my good friend Anderson York, the Indie Bench Mensch, for providing your beautiful benches for our seating arrangements today here at Highland Park. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.